Wow. I got to follow that? Jeff, come on. Are you guys ready for the coaches panel? Are you ready to hear from these coaches? So listen, first of all, I just want to say thank you to each of you for being here tonight. I had some time to look over your philosophy, stories about you, your culture, and I'm excited to share what I read with the audience here tonight. So on behalf of PCA, we want to say thank you. You three are examples, are true examples of what PCA calls the movement to positive coaching. So thank you so much for what you do. So we're going to break this down into three sections. We're going to start off with philosophy. Philosophy first. So Coach Danny, I'm going to start with you. Now, Coach Danny, you coach at the most elite level of high school basketball in Colorado. You coach 5A basketball, Overland High School. You've won 2 state championships. Now, I understand the program was 5-19 when you took over. What is your coaching philosophy that allows you to be a championship coach, but also be known for the culture that you instill in your players?
And I think the key word you said is culture. And having a definition of what your purpose is when you walk in that building and when you're dealing with these young people's lives. And I think the beginning of establishing culture is modeling what you want young men and young women to be and to see. And I think there's a flip side to that, because being responsible for modeling that behavior has made me a better person overall. So that word culture, we all throw it around a lot, but I think it's the most important word in athletics. It's the most important word in our own households. So my philosophy was built around building a 3-headed monster of academic performance, athletic performance, and then who you are socially. And we kind of attacked those 3 things with equal aggression, and that was kind of what helped us establish some success.
Wow.
And I had some pretty good players.
That helps too, right, Coach? Now, Coach, you've answered some of the questions I have, so thank you for that. Now, one of the things that I understand, you call love one of your key elements to what you do. Can you speak to that a little bit? How does love work into what you do with your players as well as your program?
And I don't think love is something that can be fabricated. I think all of us as coaches become coaches because we love athletics, but we love young people. And I think they recognize that. They recognize when that's real. And just the impact that certain people in my life had that kind of steered my path in the right direction, wanting to be a part of my community, wanting to be more than just a father and an influence to my own children, wanting to impact kids who came from what I came from. And that's where that love interaction, it was inherent inside of me from what I came from.
Awesome, thank you. So Coach Don, you're next up on the prices, right? Now, you've also won a state championship, and you've done that with your softball team at Legacy High School. I also understand that you focus on building the fundamentals on and off the field. How do you balance winning on the field, but also not losing the mindset of winning in life with your players?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. I don't think you can do one without the other. And if you're not focusing on both, then you're missing out on teaching kids life lessons, because what you teach them on the field transfers to life for the rest of their life, the lifelong learning skills. It's no different. So I don't separate them. I think they go hand in hand.
Hey, coaches, if you're out in the audience tonight, get your notepad out, take notes. This is good stuff. So, Coach, you've been coaching for over 25 years. Now, we got a chance to talk as coaches a little bit earlier, and a lot of times we talk about the work that people don't see and the things that we do outside of just the sport. When someone asks you the magical question that every coach at some point gets asked, I want to know how you answer it. And that question is, why? Why do you do it? Why do you come back year after year after year?
To see the growth in the girls. I could have retired in May, but I had 7 seniors this fall, and I couldn't just leave them. I think you have to. It's why you see them grow from a little freshman who's scared to do A, B, and C, or their grades aren't so hot, or their family life isn't the greatest, and then they become seniors and they graduate and they get a college scholarship, and then they get married and they become mothers, and they transfer their knowledge, and it just keeps going and going. And I think, to me, that's the why. That's the why.
Thank you for what you do. So Coach Mo, you're next. Philosophy. Now I understand that your journey started a little bit different. You began also working with at-risk youth, and you were using sports, from what I understand, as a way to teach life lessons and to bring out the best in those at-risk youth, looking for a different outcome for those kids. What did you see where you saw sports could really develop and help build up the kids that you were working with?
I would say that being a juvenile probation officer, that's how I started. That was my coaching in 1998. And I always say you're pouring into kids, because they would sit in my office, just left the courtroom, got sentenced to probation, and my first conversation with them is, there's two things that you control: attitude and your effort. And and we're all a work in progress. And so if you show up every day with a great attitude and have extreme effort, you can accomplish anything. And so it was a lesson in their life, and it translates to anything that you do, you know, and marriage too, man. I have to show up with a great attitude and give great effort.
Yes, sir. I want to talk about the acronym of REAL training. This is This is one of the most innovative thoughts I've seen as far as an acronym. And when I first read it, I thought, oh, real training. Maybe it's just the real training. Maybe he's the real deal. That's what it means, right? And then we begin to read and understand, no, there's a meaning behind it. Can you share with the audience what real training actually means?
Yeah, so R is responsibility, education, athletics, and leadership. And I tell kids all the time that not one thing means more than the other, and you have to have balance. And so literally I was sitting home I should have been taking care of the kids. I was on paternity leave, and I just decided, I put it together. I was just like, you know what? How can you form a club that you can teach these principles? And so that was the acronym, and you know, now we get a lot of fake training out there, because like, what's real training? Is there fake training? And so, but that's what it stands for, and you get to have great conversations with kids. Hey, are you being responsible? Are you taking care of your stuff in the classroom? You know, are you being a leader? You know, are you really setting that example at home, in the classroom, and with your teammates?
Awesome. You also have a concept, and I have to ask you this concept. I cannot let you leave this stage without asking you this concept. You have a concept that's called pouring life into kids. Can you touch on that for just a moment?
Yeah, I had coaches, and I'll name two coaches that I had. I had Coach Dirks. He was my middle school coach. He ended up going into the Texas Hall of Fame for track and field, phenomenal. But I met him when I was in middle school, and he poured into me. And how I met him was I won a race, a 7th grade race. And I beat this kid, and he tracked me down. You know, there was just pagers back then. I didn't have a pager. I was in 7th grade. There's no cell phones. I don't know how he tracked me down, but he found the school I was at, and he says, hey, you got some talent. I want to work with you. And he really poured into me, and I lost my father at 9, and I needed that. I needed that father figure. Next person was Coach Mack, the famous Coach Mack at CU. He poured into all his athletes. And so by doing that, I was like, I got to do that in return. And so that's just pouring into kids, because they fill your cup. You know, when I go to, I look forward to going to practice. Yeah, the championships are great. The process is better, and I love the process.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. So we're going back to Coach Danny. We're going to start with some stories that I read about each of these coaches. Now, Coach Danny, I understand you were working with the Hinckley feeder team, driving around town in an old Ford Bronco, picking up 8 to 9 kids, kind of the neighborhood guy. But I read that there was something during that time that kind of awakened in you as far as what you were doing today. Can you kind of go over what did that experience do for you? What did you feel? What were you shown that, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
So I stopped playing in college after my second year, and just loving the game. You're just kind of looking for opportunities to be involved with it. And I joined my best friend back then. He was the head coach of the feeder team where I went to high school, and I was just going along to help see what it was about. And one day he just stopped showing up. And we have this group of kids who have some pretty intense backgrounds, a lot of single parenting, a lot of just a lack of resources. And seeing him kind of back away, and these kids dependent on that, they're all standing outside of their apartment complexes every day waiting to be picked up by coach. And so being able to take over there and load all those kids in my vehicle every day and to just feel their spirit and feel their energy, understanding where they came from, but to really see what was inside of them and, that they had the same love and potential as any other kid. And then watching their lives and their engagement in school slowly turn around as we got better and better. I mean, our first games, we were losing by 50, and then 6 months later, these kids engaged so much, we're beating those same teams. And so to see that progress, to see them start to take advice, to see them improve in the classroom, to see their parents say how they're improving in their engagement around the house with their younger siblings, that was when I realized that, in a sense, we all have a responsibility to any young person that we come in contact with, no matter how long or how short it is. They should be able to have an interaction with us and walk away with something.
Awesome. Now, legend has it, now I know you're a dad of 4 kids, but legend has it that there was a time you were taking your baby daughter to practice early in the morning, putting her in, I guess, somewhere on the side of the gym or the court or something like that and running practice. I can't let you off the stage unless you break that one down.
So she's in the crowd now. So my first year at Overland, we're coming off of there's not a lot of culture in the program. They're coming off of a 5-19 season. Kids are kind of beat down. Oh, here comes another coach with another message. He's just a run-of-the-mill guy. So again, that word culture, I want to establish some new habits. So we're going to start working out at 6 a.m. in the morning. We're going to have something to get up for. Well, I'm a single dad and my daughter is 2, and I can't leave the youngins at the house. So, I load up the boys and carry her out to the car, lay out some yoga mats in the corner of the gym, let her finish her sleep. We finish our practice and we go get ready for school and get on with it. But that's why she doesn't want to play sports to this day because of instances like that. But that was, for me, it was bigger than just raising my own children. I had a responsibility, I felt like, to the community and to the school. And, I hope that it puts something in her as well. And she feels a certain responsibility as she grows up.
Now I have a question that every basketball coach in this room wants to know. How did you protect her from the loose balls, the kid running to the corner? Did you have barriers set up, brother? Did you have a trash can? How did you stop? What was the safety strategy?
I wasn't that smart. I just hoped that the ball wouldn't hit her. I chased down a lot of balls, and the fellas got really good about avoiding them because the boys were running around, so they'd run right in the middle of a 3-man weave, and it's people 6'10" in there. So the players got really good at maneuvering, but I didn't have any safety precautions in place.
Sometimes it's not about strategy, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes just hope. Coach Don, I'm going to you next. Now, I understand when it comes to life lessons, you have this pretty much down pat. I understand there's some auto mechanic type situations that go on with your players. Can you please break down the life lessons that you teach to your girls?
Well, I know when we were talking earlier, we talked about when you know it all, then you're done. And as old as I am, I'm still learning. And I had watched a video somewhere about a coach who took his boys and taught them how to tie a tie and taught them how to change a tire and taught them how to do things. And so we created, and I can't take credit for this, my daughter, who was my assistant coach at the time, said, we need to do these kinds of things. I'm like, yeah, it's a great idea. And we came up with the name of Wonder Woman Wednesdays. So I try to empower the girls with things that they need in life, changing a tire. And then I let them pick some things. They wanted to learn cursive. They wanted to talk to a stockbroker and brought in one of our principals who actually was a stockbroker and talked to them for 2 hours about investing money and how to invest money. I taught them how to write a check, even though that's not done a lot, but they still wanted to learn those things. How to parallel park. Things that they wanted to learn, but as well as things that I thought. Sewing a button. My mother came in, another grandmother came in, taught them how to sew a button. Things that they would need when they go to college, things that forward, not that their mothers couldn't teach them, but it was the things they wanted to know. And so yeah, Wonder Woman Wednesdays.
Wow. Yeah. So can I ask, now, when this was going on, these Wonder Woman Wednesdays were going on, and your kids are now learning to do all these different life skills, did you see an increase or a new camaraderie amongst themselves? Did that translate onto the field somehow? Did you see any change or growth in those areas?
Absolutely. I'm a big believer in kids teaching kids. And so sometimes kids may know how to do that. They help each other. It just helps with a bond of, oh, you can't parallel park either? Me neither. Okay, let's go. And learning about fulcrums and what needs to go where and just different things that they were no longer afraid, and they trusted their teammates. And, oh, there's things beyond softball. And we did this after practice. This was anywhere from an hour to 2 hours after a practice.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. It is obvious you can see why these are award-winning coaches, yeah? Okay, just making sure I'm not the only one checking that out. So Coach Mo, you have the greatest canceled sports event story in the history of coaches. So legend has it, Coach Mo is headed to a tournament. He hits Wyoming, and as he hits Wyoming, a snowstorm hits them. Coach Mo, I'm gonna need you to take it from here, because if I say it myself, they probably won't believe me. What happened with your team? Where'd you take them? What happened? How'd you handle that?
So we took 2 charter buses. Some coaches talked me into it. It's like, hey, Coach Mo, this would be a great idea. Let's go to Simplot games. Instead of flying, let's drive. Okay, it's the winter. We'll go down I-80, and I was sitting in the front of the bus, and all the cars were just, the wind was blowing them off the highway, and I was like, man, are we really gonna make it? And I'm praying, going, man, this is not gonna happen. So we get to Rawlings, Wyoming, and they closed the road because of the wind. And I was like, I just didn't understand it. I grew up in Texas, so I was like, we mean the wind, you know? And so we couldn't make it, so we went to this abandoned hotel. It was abandoned. And I said, I need every room, you know. So I had to book every room. And I'm like, man, these parents are going to light me up, man. Like, we're in the middle of Wyoming, stuck on I-80 in abandoned hotel room. And you got to know, like, a lot of my kids, Niwot, you know, nice houses out there at Niwot. And this hotel wasn't nice. So so we stayed the night. Everybody was great. We had every room. They didn't go to bed. So the next morning we're going to try again, see if we're going to make it. We didn't make it, so I was like, what can we do? Well, we're going to go see a prison. There's an abandoned prison in Raleigh. I was like, this will be a good field trip. We're going to the prison. And the kids loved it, you know? I mean, they loved it. They were like, man, this is so cool. And so we didn't make it to Simplot. We drove all the way back to Niwot, and not one kid or parent complained. I mean, it was just perfect. The kids enjoyed it. And, it's about those experiences. Sometimes it's not the meat, or the game. It's just hanging out with your teammates and making that experience. And so it's next year we did make it, but yeah, I was just like, and not like, Coach, we need a refund. And I was like, well, there's no refund because we had to pay for the charter buses, but it was great.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So coaches, when your teams are struggling with their camaraderie, take them to prison. Okay, we're gonna move here so we can kind of get through the rest of these questions. Let's talk about culture. Danny, I'm gonna go back to you here. What are the elements, basically, of your team culture that I understand you do things with your team as far as them doing things together, whether it's school events and working together and being around each other, spending time with each other outside of a practice or the game. Can you explain that just a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's been really beneficial to, you talk about CYSA being the high school activities and athletics, and sometimes I think we take for granted the activity side of it. We get so focused, especially in those big three sports with basketball, baseball, and football. It's such a year-round focus and a laser focus. You forget about things like arts. It's kids that have never been exposed to a play. And in the Overland community, it's such a tight-knit community. When we were winning, the kids were getting free haircuts at the barbershops. They weren't paying for meals, and the community just really embraced us. And so being able to just take the kids to a school play on campus as a whole unit, walking into practice, pretending that I'm upset and I'm gonna run us to death, saying, just kidding, get dressed, let's go over to the school play. That just injected a sense of pride, and it helped them appreciate everybody inside of the building. And it also helped, we have 12 guys on the team. Sometimes 10, 11, and 12 don't play a whole lot. But a lot of times 10, 11, and 12 are excellent students, or they have a gift with music or something that we don't get a chance to see. So stepping outside of the box like that helped us embrace all of the aspects and all of the personality traits and gifts of everybody on the team, and then everybody in the community. All of a sudden, you have this Division I center who's having conversations in the hallway with the valedictorian. It just gives them a different outlook on the whole entire community.
Awesome. These are our last questions. So, Coach Don, you have a new coach standing in front of you. She's trying to start her culture. What do you tell her?
Well, that's a loaded question. I actually used Jeff Jansen's book on championship team building about building culture. It's your base. You have to build it. You have to come up with, and I think he came up with 5 C's. And it's one of those things, I didn't read that book until till I started at Legacy. So it's one of those things to be a student and to study those things, and I would hand them that book. Start here. Work your research other places, read other books, find other things, but you got to start with a culture. You've got to start with a good base, and here are some things to do. And I actually have it saved. I would probably just hand it right to her.
Awesome. And Coach Mo, you run a theme every season, I understand. Something that you theme out, that you have for your teams every season. Can you talk to that just a little bit?
Yes, this year is gratitude. We always pick a word or a theme, and actually I came up with the word coming back from state cross country this past weekend. And I was driving back, and our girls won, and our boys finished second, and they're pretty down and upset, and it was just like, it just hit me. There's a lot of things that we can be thankful for, and it's something that we can teach our kids, because when you have a lot of success, you forget the little things, and so just grateful to have the opportunity, and for these kids to have the opportunity to run and appreciate those moments. I had one of our coaches, I coached him at Denver North. He was a Viking And he was in the car, and he's never won anything, but now he's a coach, and he's like, why is everybody so down? We won the girls, and we were runner-up, and he was just blown away. And we talked on the way home going, you know what? And he talked about gratitude, and I said, you know what? That's the word. And I called our AD who's here tonight, and I said, Mr. Brown, it's going to be gratitude. It's going to be on the back of our shirts. So our kids don't even know that because I didn't tell them that. They're here, so now they know.
It's gratitude.
Yep.
That is our panel. Thank you each so much. We appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful night.
How awesome is that and inspiring as coaches? Before you guys go, we have several additional coaches in the crowd who have received the Double Goal Coach Award. So I just want to introduce those people, ask you to please stand up, and then we'll give them all a round of applause, and then you guys can head back. Coach Robert Kuna, Colorado Springs Little League. Coach Jim Davidson, Broomfield High School Soccer. Coach Andrew Simmons, Peak Performance. Coach Pete Weber, Boulder Junior Cycling. And Coach Woody Roberts, Fairview High School and Gold Crown Volleyball. Absolutely awesome.